We'll be just giving you details around that is, what the government really has explained, the funding as well, because under SHA we've got 3 funds, so who contributes what is covered under SHA, and much more, and that is something that I'll be taking you through in just a bit. My name is Cynthia Nanjala. You can talk to us across our social media platforms. That is on EBN TV. The SMS line is open 23059. The hashtag on X is #MorningLive. You can tag us at TV EBN. You can tag me at It's Nanjala. Let's get this show started, shall we? Now, the Ministry of Health moved forward with the rollout of the Social Health Authority after the Court of Appeal granted stay orders. The court ruled in favor of the ministry, allowing the continuation of its appeal against a High Court decision that declared 3 health-related laws unconstitutional. The 3 laws, the Social Health Insurance Act, the Primary Healthcare Act, and the Digital Health Act, are set to replace the National Hospital Insurance Fund, NHIF, which had been declared unconstitutional by a 3-judge bench of the High Court. The Social Health Authority is now set to roll out on October 1st as NHIF ceases to operate. But how did we get here? Now, joining us are key players in the shift to SHIF migration.
And again, our collaboration with stakeholders, the governors, among others, is really vital and critical for the success of this. So I call you, even media, please join us so that we can roll this out and we can have Kenyans having affordable, accessible quality of care. We will continue monitoring the SHA rollout. We will continue improving the system. We will address the funding gaps and enhance digitization efforts to improve healthcare delivery and data management in Kenya.
It is the first time that we have a social health authority that is designed to take care even of the non-payroll people. People who ordinarily do not have a salary at the end of the month. So if we achieve this, then we will be able to take care of all these WhatsApp group harabes.
Therefore, it is important to utilize the community health promoters at the bottom of the pyramid. These are individuals, men and women, who have been able to visit already 7.8 million households.
So what we are saying, can we change from the WhatsApp approach and we come to a formal system which is actually a social health insurance system?
Yes, there is always the fear of fraud. But what we need to keep in mind is we have said everything that SHA will be doing will be digitized. So meaning you will have to have people, in as much as they have not registered, for you to claim through the digital system.
So we need resources, deliberate, to be able to make people come together and register within the shortest time possible.
Tulimalizana naye kwa nini? Kwa sababu kulikuwa na wizi. Watu walikuwa wanaiba pesa. Mtu anadanganya ati amekatwa mguu, unaona wana charge national government, NHIF inalipa. Kidogo kidogo tena hiyo mguu yenye alikuwa amekatwa tena anakatwa mara 2 mara 3. So tukasema hiyo ukora tufunge, tuachane nayo. Tuko na mpya inaitwa Social Health Authority. Na katika hiyo Social Health Authority, Deputy Governor amewaeleza serikali imepunguza minimum, mlikuwa mnalipa 500. Sasa minimum inaenda kukua ngapi? 300. Si hiyo tutakuwa tumefanya jambo mzuri. Na hii mfumo mpya vile amesema ni ukweli. Sisi wale wa mshahara kubwa tukatwe pesa mingi ndio ihudumie nyinyi. Si namna hiyo? Huyu Tindi kwa sababu yeye kila siku ni maambiwa Ijumaa anatoa 500.
All right, so I'll be giving you a detailed explanation about the SHA in just a few minutes, but the High Court has rejected a request to halt the National Assembly and Senate from addressing a motion seeking to impeach Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. The motion filed by former Senator Cleophas Malala aimed to prevent both houses from presenting, discussing, considering or acting any motion to impeach Deputy President Gachagua. Malala argued that both houses lacked adherence to the constitutional two-thirds gender rule and had violated the Constitution's provision. Now, the Pentecostal church leaders have warned that the ongoing political confrontations in the country could lead to divisions and undermine national cohesion. Led by Apostle Manyuru, the leaders urged politicians to cease their political disputes, especially during this time when there are efforts to impeach the deputy president. They called on leaders to set aside their differences and focus on delivering their promises to Kenyans instead of perpetuating political tensions. Similarly, religious leaders in Malindi, Kilifi County, held a protest demanding an end to political wrangling between senior government officials. Speaking to the media, they called on the president and his deputy to end their disagreements, restore peace and harmony, and curb political tensions across the country.
It has been a norm that when there are things which are, very pressing, usually politicians have their game. They bring in an issue to divert people's attention from the real issues, and that is their nature. And we are used to that kind of nature. So our prayer is that we focus on the main issues and we avoid diversionary tactics. So it becomes better, it is better that this government can live up to the expectation of Kenyans by addressing the real issues which are affecting us today, like the fires, the Gen Z issues, the Adani issues. All these issues need to be addressed. So us as a church, we're also praying that let us not divert the attention of the nation.
Kwa hivyo sisi tunaomba viongozi wetu hawa wawili waweze kukaa na kuelewana, na wabunge wawasaidie kuelewana, sio kuwatenganisha. Sisi Kenya tunataka umoja, tunataka ushirikiano. Hatutaki mambo ya kuzozana, manake tayari maisha ni magumu na watu wanaumia, na hatutaki mizozano hasa ya viongozi wale ambao ndio wakubwa kabisa serikalini. Kwa hivyo tunaomba wakae na wapatane.
Na tunavyoona kwamba leo Kenya inazozana, wale ambao wako juu kabisa wanazozana, na tunaamini kama viongozi wa madhehebu ya dini kwamba uongozi unatoka kwa Mungu. Na kama unatoka kwa Mungu, basi hawa watu wawili sharti wamwangalie Mungu na waweze kuacha yale ambayo labda hayatoki kwa Mungu.
Tunasisitiza sana kwamba tuweke haki ndio tuwe na amani. Haki hutangulia amani.
Mizozo yaliyoko sasa baina ya viongozi ni mizozo yatokea kila pahali. Hata ndani ya majumba mke na mume huzozana, mwisho wakapatana. Kwa hivyo hili si jambo ambalo litashtua watu. Hili ni jambo la mpito tu kwa muda fulani, na kila mtu ana haki.
Members of the County Assembly in Wajir held a demonstration following the disappearance of their colleague Yusuf Hussein Ahmed, member of County Assembly for Dela Ward. Hussein has been missing for 18 days after being kidnapped on Enterprise Road in South Sea, Nairobi. Family of Dela Ward representative is now urging the court not to grant security agencies more time to to present him, demanding his immediate release. Residents of Wajir are also calling on the national government to ensure the safety of elected leaders.
We are appealing to the honorable courts to make sure that extending the dates for those people is unnecessary. We are appealing to security officers led by the IG, the CS, and under the list to expedite the production of this honorable member in court if there is any allegation against him.
He was been abducted on 13th September by a non-assailant. Up to today, he is away for 18 days. That 18 days, it is not just a number. It is an 18 days, 18 dark days, and 18 nights of horror. You can imagine the kind of the mental traumatization that the members of the immediate family members are going through, that the tens of thousands people that he's representing of his electorates are going through. More so, the larger people today, or the larger people of Wajir today, are showing the grievances concerned about the abduction of their son.
We want the security agencies to provide our colleague Yusuf Hussein, aka 12U. We want, if at all they are suspecting that he has maybe some offenses, let him be brought before the law.
Now, Mombasa County Governor Abdul Swamad Sharif Nasir broke his silence, family denying any involvement in the alleged kidnapping and sexual assault of Mombasa-based blogger Bruce John. Speaking to the media, Governor Abdul Swamad reiterated that he has never engaged in politics that harm others, despite Bruce John's previous insults directed at him through viral videos on social media. He also mentioned that Bruce had sent over 800 offensive text messages using different phone numbers, including targeting the governor's mother's residence. However, the governor emphasized that he never retaliated against Bruce. Abdul Swamad claimed that his political rivals are behind the accusations in an effort to tarnish his reputation.
A couple of weeks before the unfortunate incident that is said to have been done on this young man, I live next to my mother. My mother's house was invaded, not once but twice, and every one of those incidences we reported it. In the invasion of my mother's house, nothing else was taken except a laptop and a mobile phone. CCTV footage were provided to the authorities. My family car was approached by armed people, and when there was a video that had started circulating that talked of words that I cannot even be able to state on my mother, on the mother of my children, the first thing that I did was speak to my family. And we, in unity, agreed we will do whatever we have always been doing. Leave this to the Almighty. It is unfortunate that a sad scenario like this is now being used for political. I'm more than willing to state this to the authorities. This young man has sent me personally messages in excess of 800 messages from different numbers. I have never responded to any one of those messages. We have never. And for those of you who know me, for those of you who know my family, for those of you who know the kind of politics that I've always preached, we have never, nor will we ever stoop that low. Power is transient.
Now, Kenya Wildlife Service has officially launched its 5-year strategic plan for the period 2024 to 2028. And the plan focuses on improving wildlife conservation, enhancing tourism services and infrastructure, and strengthening collaborations with both local and international stakeholders. It aims to integrate modern technologies to better manage wildlife and address climate change challenges. Additionally, the plan seeks to improve the livelihoods of communities around parks and reserves by involving them in environmental conservation projects, attracting more tourists through infrastructure upgrades, and expanding tourist attractions to contribute to the national economy. KWS emphasized the importance of partnerships with other conservation organizations, the private sector, and local communities to achieve these objectives. This strategic plan is expected to bring transformation to Kenya's wildlife and tourism sectors by protecting the country's wildlife heritage for future generations.
24 to 2028. Notably, this is my first strategic plan to launch since I joined the ministry about 5 weeks ago. But besides that, it is hardly 48 hours after KWS did Kenyans proud by ably handling over 80,000 free park entry visitors, for which I am deeply grateful. I was out in the park and the plans were very, very well done. Let me start by congratulating the board and management of KWS for launching this strategic plan. We know that a strategy delineates a territory in which a company or an organization for that matter seeks to be unique. And this was said even by a Harvard Business School management science expert, Michael Porter. And so we are in the right direction. I consider the neat stack of action points flagged in this document the most befitting flashlight to kindle and inspire the best practice in Kenya's biodiversity conversation starting now. And for KWS, when you tell us it's a new beginning, let it be a new beginning.
All right, so allow us to take a quick breather. When we come back, we'll be getting to the newspapers, that detailed explanation on SHA or SHIF coming right after the break. Stay with us. All right, let's get to the newspapers and take a look at what is making headlines across the country. So we'll kick it off with the Star newspaper that speaks of all you need to know about SHA, Social Health Authority. Well, the government targets to register 12 million Kenyans, but so far just 2 million of them have registered. And this includes dependents as well. Now, under Social Health Authority, there are 3 key funds that you need to take note of. Under SHA, Social Health Authority, you've got the Primary Healthcare Fund, the Better Known Social Health Insurance Fund, and the Emergency Chronic and Critical Illnesses Fund. Now, all these 3 funds are under SHA, Social Health Authority. That is why you'd hear a lot of people ask, have you registered for SHA? Instead of asking you, have you registered for SHIF? That's because once you've registered under the Social Health Authority, that is SHA, automatically you're able to now become part of the process of these 3 particular funds, beginning with the Primary Healthcare Fund, then to the Social Health Insurance Fund, as well as the Emergency Chronic and Illnesses Fund. Now, once you register, which the government has said it is free registration, you're able to access the basic care, which is the primary health care fund. And this particular fund, is basically covered in dispensaries or just clinics, private ones, for instance, near you. it enables you to get free primary care services, meaning dispensaries and health centers. Now, according to Dr. Patrick Amoth, who's the Director General for Health, he says once registered, even without paying, you qualify for free outpatient services at community facilities classified under primary care networks. That is now the dispensaries and the health centers that I'm speaking about. Now, contrary to NHIF, where you had to pick a particular hospital which you will be going to receive healthcare services, under SHA, under this particular primary care healthcare fund, you're able to access medical services in any particular primary healthcare facility or a dispensary or a health center that has been labeled as a primary healthcare anywhere. That means, all you have to do is, once you feel unwell, you just go to a dispensary or a health center near you. As long as you're registered under SHA, you'll be able to access the particular services that you require. Now, in case you get to that particular primary healthcare facility and you're told, your case needs a referral, you will be referred to a level 4 facility. Now, a level 4 facility is the next step where now the social health insurance fund comes in. And this is where largely you're a huge contributor to this particular fund, because this is where 148 billion shillings in contributory funds comes in. Now that means every end of the month when there's a 2.75% deduction on your gross pay, it will be going to the social health insurance fund, where it's contributory. Now you've got the primary healthcare fund, which is the beginner, which the government pays 8 billion shillings. And then you have the emergency, chronic and critical illness, where the government pumps 20 billion shillings every year. Well, that is the expectation, that it will be pumping about 20 billion shillings every year. That is to cover the emergency, chronic and critical illnesses fund. So I'll take that again. Under Social Health Authority, that is SHA, you have 3 particular funds: Primary Healthcare Fund, Social Health Insurance Fund, Emergency and Chronic Illnesses Fund. Now, under Primary Healthcare Fund, the government contributes 8 billion shillings. Under Social Health Insurance Fund, which is the next step or the next level of treatment, to which you'll be referred to either a level 3 or a level 4 hospital, is where your funds are going to. What you're contributing at the end of the month goes to the social health insurance fund. And then now beyond that, you've got the emergency chronic illnesses fund, which the government expects to pump in about 20 billion shillings. Now in total, about 171 billion shillings will be within this particular social health authority. Now, what you'll also get free of charge from this primary healthcare level, which is the basic level where you always have to start from, will be ARVs, HIV testing and follow-up tests, family planning commodities, anti-malarial medication and testing, TB testing and tuberculosis medication, as well as vaccines for tuberculosis, polio, diphtheria, whooping cough, tetanus and measles. Other free services include lab tests for diabetes, hypertension, sickle cell and asthma. And the focus is on comprehensive care and treatment of preventive and chronic conditions. Now, the SHA board estimates the government will spend about 8 billion shillings yearly to cover primary health care fund expenses. All those free things that I've mentioned, the government will be catering for that at a cost of 8 billion shillings every financial year. Now, if a patient cannot be treated in the dispensaries and health centers, which is the first step, then they are referred to a mother level 4 hospital. Now, when they say the mother level 4 hospital, they mean this particular dispensary or health center, what are the established links to a level 4 hospital that they have? So, for instance, if you are at a health center in Buruburu, then whatever health center and the links they have made with a level 4 hospital, then that is the hospital that you'll be referred to. And from that point is now the main referral hospital within that primary care network. Now, the Ministry of Health said 315 such networks have been formed across the country, meaning Kenyans should preferably seek services from the nearest dispensary, and they can be referred to health center or the level 4 hospital to which it is linked. Now, Public Health CS Mary Mudhoni, Mary Mudhoni, said the bottom-up approach will create an efficient emergency referral system while improving sharing of resources across levels of care. It will also improve data flow for better decision-making. Now, patients whose needs cannot be met in the primary care network will be referred to their mother level 4 hospitals. They will be treated at no cost if they have been contributing to the 2.75% of their annual earnings to SHA. So that is where now the big catch really is at, because you've got contributions from the formal sector, and you've got contributions as well from the informal sector. Now, those in the formal sector will contribute 2.75% of their gross pay. Now, there are those who earn 100,000 shillings, there are those who earn 500,000 shillings, and there are those who earn a paltry 15,000 shillings or 20,000 shillings. And so 2.75% of the gross pay, do the math, then it will give you to a total of what you should be contributing to SHA at the end of the month. That is the formal sector. Now, the informal sector, those are persons that do not have a pay slip, a formal pay slip. Well, they're expected to contribute 300 shillings a month, and that should be remunerated by date 9 of every single month. Now, for instance, this is October, right? And so if you're in the informal sector, what the government expects is that you'll contribute 300 shillings by 9th of October. Subsequently, come November, 300 shillings by 9th of November. And so those are the two biggest contributors to the Social Health Authority. Now, what the government has not really been able to pinpoint is this means testing kit tool that they will use to determine who's in the informal sector, or at least how much people earn in the informal sector, and whether or not people in the informal sector will actually register themselves to doing this particular SHA. So this means testing kit tool is what the government says they'll be able to, fill a particular form which has got details like where you work, perhaps how much you expect in your various businesses. If you have any, do you engage in anything else other than a business, perhaps agriculture, and any other details that may be in that particular form. So that form is what they say is a means testing kit tool to determine now how much you should be paying to the government. So that is now on the Social Health Insurance Fund. Now, SHA puts all the money into a common pot called Social Health Insurance Fund, and SHIF is probably the important fund under the authority because it will cover most services needed by Kenyans, and that is what the Ministry of Health now said. Now, NHIF, the defunct NHIF, covered about 15.4 million members, out of which 6.7 million were active members as of the financial year 2022-2023. The NHIF raised 82.1 billion shillings and paid 74.2 billion shillings in claims. Now, SHA in itself aims to register 12 million Kenyans, covering 50 million, including their dependents. You've got family, for instance, you've got a husband who has got the wife and wants them covered, and children covered as well. So what they hope to register is 12 million Kenyans, but within this 12 million, there will be a network of 50 million Kenyans who will be covered with this particular SHA. Now, SHA has retained the Linda Mama packages, and which now covers antenatal care visits. There was a huge uproar and questions around whether or not SHA covers Linda Mama, and so the ministry confirmed that it will cover Linda Mama. And so the packages, include antenatal care visits. The packages cover emergency evacuation from the point of incident to the nearest facility in 24 hours. Now, renal care packages in levels 4 to 6 facilities will be reimbursed 10,500 for the hemodialysis and hemodiafiltration services per session, and also mental wellness package is also under SHA. You've also got packages for oncology under SHA that includes chemotherapy, 5,000 shillings, that is for one session, 53,000 shillings for a PET scan, a CT scan, and an MRI is also some of the packages are under oncology services. Now, these services should be free to a patient who has been paying premium packages. Now, facilities will also be paid for bone scans, radionuclide bone scans, and much of brachytherapy, which is radiation treatment. Facilities will also be reimbursed for mammography services, special ultrasounds, and echocardiograms. These are medical terminologies, but they'll also be covered as well under SHAM. Now, pharmacy services in all pharmacies, public pharmacies, will be free. Now, if the big catch as well with Social Health Authority is that, you know, most of these services are capped. That means, you know, all services paid for through SHIF are capped. For instance, the benefit package shows hospitalization is for a maximum of 50 days. Now, sick people who exhaust these limits can apply for more financing now through the third fund, known as the Emergency, Chronic and Illnesses Fund. This is not a contributory fund. This is where the Treasury puts money into this particular fund. It is expected that the Treasury will be parting with 20 billion shillings to the Chronic Emergency Illnesses Fund. But now, for instance, in the financial year 2024-2025, in the proposed budget, the ministry has put in 2.1 billion, so about 17.9 billion shillings less than what is expected. So those are some of the details that you need to know about SHIF, Primary Healthcare Fund, as well as the Emergency Chronic Illnesses Fund. Now, in addition to that, there's also the deductions, which is also a huge factor to which we've seen a lot of uproar from Kenyans about. So NHIF to SHIF, how this is going to further slash monthly salaries. Now, the STAR has done a comparison of various brackets of gross pay. Now, for a person who has a gross pay of 20,000 shillings under NHIF, they were paying 750 shillings, but under SHIF now, that has reduced to 550. Now, for anyone who records a gross pay of between 20,000 shillings to 50,000, when we talk of gross pay, by the way, we mean before taxes, right? After taxes is what we call net, salary, but before taxes, that is what we call gross pay, or in other words, what people say the basic salary. So between 20,000 to 50,000 shillings, that is before taxes, that is the amount that you earn. Well, under NHIF, you are paying 1,200 shillings, but under SHIF, you will pay 1,375. Now, to the next bracket of between 50,000 and 100,000 shillings gross pay. Under NHIF, you paid 1,700 shillings. Under SHIF, you will pay 2,750. Now, to the next bracket of between 100,000 to 200,000. Under NHIF, you were paying 1,700. Under SHIF, you will pay 5,500. Now, to the next bracket of between 200,000 shillings and 500,000 shillings, under NHIF, it was still at 1,700, but under SHIF, you will pay 13,750. And then 500,000 to 1,000,000 shillings, if your gross pay is between that amount. Under NHIF, you are paying 1,700 shillings, but under SHIF, you will now pay 27,500, and that is the highest figure of the deductions for SHIF. And so those are some of the details between SHA, under SHA, basically, the Social Health Authority, which, the government said about 2 million Kenyans have registered as at the start of this particular week. Now, today is October 1st, so NHIF is officially defunct as of effective this morning, as it is expected that, Kenyans should have registered for this new particular authority. So that is that headline, all you need to know about SHA. Now, what is on top of the page is basically services that are covered: inpatient services, maternity services, renal care treatment, hematology and oncology services, mental wellness services, surgical services, medical imaging and investigations, selected outpatient services, overseas treatment, critical care, chronic illnesses, palliative care. But of course, I'd call it amount, it varies depending on what service it is exactly. So that is the headline on top of the Star newspaper. Now let's Move to politics now, to the Daily Nation, which speaks on Gachagua on trial. The Daily Nation speaks on Gachagua on trial. Now, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is today set to find out if members of Parliament will make true their threat and table on the floor of the House a motion for his removal from office. Spirited attempts on Monday by the embattled DP and his allies to block the National Assembly from proceeding with the impeachment came a cropper after the courts failed to issue the stop orders. The second-in-command's fate now lies in the House leadership and his boss, President William Ruto. So, let me just take you through the process of impeaching a deputy president, right? Because as it stands, it is expected that that particular motion will be getting to the floor of the National Assembly. Now, Njue, if we could get just the graphics that explain that particular process of impeaching a deputy president, which begins with basically, members of Parliament signing that particular motion. And it is expected that, according to the Constitution, at least a third of the 349 members of Parliament will sign this particular motion. And that a third equates to about 117 members of Parliament to sign to this motion. Now, details from the National Assembly show that at least 300 MPs had signed the petition to remove the deputy president from office by Thursday last week. Njue, do we have the graphics so that we could take a look at that? Just to take a look at, what that process basically looks like. Now, after members of Parliament have signed that particular motion, there has to be a mover of the motion, or in other words, somebody that is sponsoring that motion. So who will sponsor the motion? Well, that is yet to be known, despite reports, indicating, not just reports, but also Didmas Baraza himself, the Kimilili Member of Parliament, who had intimated that he will be the one sponsoring the motion. Now, after sponsoring the motion, it is given to the Speaker of the National Assembly, and that is Moses Wetangula. Now, Moses Wetangula, upon certifying that indeed it has met the constitutional threshold of members of Parliament that are required to sign that impeachment motion, he will then table that motion at the floor of the National Assembly. Members of Parliament will debate this motion just before they vote on the motion. Now, in terms of voting, constitutionally it is required that 2/3 of the members of Parliament will be, voting or to approve this motion. That's the right word, approving the motion. That is, voting and supporting it. The 2/3 members of Parliament, and that gives you 233 in the National Assembly. So 233 in the National Assembly, members of Parliament are expected to, approve this particular motion. Now, after it has been approved and the Speaker certifies that indeed the numbers have been met, he will then communicate with the Speaker of the Senate, and this should happen within 2 days. After it gets to the Speaker of the Senate, and that is now Amason Kingi, he will also, initiate that motion at the floor of the of the Senate. Of the Senate. Now, they may choose to appoint an 11-member committee who will be at the center of investigating and listening into these particular proceedings. But it is at this time to which, the deputy president can then appear to defend himself personally, or can choose a representative to represent him at the floor of the Senate. Now, they will have about 10 days to do their findings, investigate it, and then give a report back to the Senate. Now, it is also at this point to which that 45 senators are required to approve the motion to impeach the deputy president. So that's as well 2/3 of the majority in the Senate, and that is at 45 senators, because the Senate has got 67 senators. And so 45 in the Senate are required to approve the impeachment motion. Now, if that particular depending on what the 11-member committee will be able to find, either substantiated claims or unsubstantiated claims, then members of the Senate will vote based on that. And if the majority have it, then the deputy president will be impeached from office. But also there's always a lifeline, because we've got the courts to which he as well can go to the court. So Gachagua fails to block members of parliament from tabling the ouster motion, and the National Assembly Deputy Leader of Majority Owen Baya will sponsor the motion. Now, what the motion should state: the motion shall also be required to state with precision the provisions of the Constitution or other written law that are alleged to have been grossly violated, where gross violation of the Constitution or other written law is indicated as a ground for removal. The motion shall also be accompanied by necessary evidence, including annexures of sworn testimonies in respect of the allegations. And so National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula is expected today to notify MPs at the plenary of his receipt of a motion seeking the removal of the DP. This comes after 3 petitioners, former UDA SG Cleophas Malala, Sheria Mtani, and Shadrack Wambui, as well as Ms. Caroline Wambui, failed in their attempts to secure court orders blocking the impeachment of the deputy president. Now, a 4th petition by Obuli Namenya and 5 others is yet to be heard by the court. And so that is the latest, even as National Assembly Deputy Leader of Majority Owen Baya, that is Member of Parliament for Kilifi North, is the sponsor of the motion and will therefore prosecute it on the floor of the House, with Kibwezi West Member of Parliament Mwengi Mutuse expected to second it. This will, however, be preceded by guidance from Speaker Wetangula in a communication to the House on how the matter will proceed. So that is the headline on top of the Daily Nation, pardon me. Also, Omtata seeks to block shift rollout as MPs approve 104 billion shilling system. Busia Senator Okiya Omtata and 2 others have moved to court seeking to block the implementation of the Social Health Insurance Fund ahead of today's launch. Omtata, together with Eliud Karanja Matindi and Dr. Magare Gikenyi, argue that the subsidiary legislation required to operationalize the SHIF Act were not in place. The 3 petitioners have also questioned the procurement of Safaricom Consortium to provide a health IT system at a cost of 104.8 billion shillings. So that is the headline on the Daily Nation. And then finally, to the Standard, the case against Gachagua. The case against Gachagua now, it is D-Day. Parliament is expected to kickstart the process of impeaching DP. The courts 4 times yesterday turned down the DP's plea to stop the move that is questioning his fitness to be the country's second in command. Now, what are the issues raised in the motion? Well, the motion alleges he acquired properties beyond his investment capability, that he's sowing seeds of disunity, that he attacked public officials in a manner that borders on gross misconduct. Now, companies that are associated with the deputy president are 22 of them and are claimed to have been the conduits of illegally acquired money and used to buy properties across the country. Now, hotels he is claimed to have bought in the last 1 year include Outspan Hotel in Nyeri, Treetops Lodge situated in Nyeri, and is said to have bought Olive Gardens Hotel in Nairobi and Vipingo Beach Resort in Kilifi. So those are some of the claims against the deputy president. So it is D-Day as MPs prepare damming grounds to kick out the deputy president. So it is a wait and see scenario just to look at whether or not this impeachment motion will actually be tabled, because it's not been tabled just yet. And yeah, that is the headline on top of the page, as well as white as snow. MPs say of Ndi farm in SHIF saga. The country will witness a big shift in the health sector with the rollout of SHIF, even as members of parliament cleared the air on claims of plants in graft or graft plants in this particular SHIF. So that is the headline as well on top of the Standard. So that is your newspaper review this morning. All right, so that is where we wrap it up this morning. Thank you very much for watching. Coming up at the top of the hour is Your Faith Today with Reverend Felix Kavoy. So keep it EBN TV. Have yourself a blessed morning.